Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast where the real detoxification lies and which we call Torq Fire podcast. And this is going to be 38th or 39th episode, I guess. Yeah, we
That's
always forget about
embarrassing
the
that we
numbers.
don't remember.
But whatever it is, Happy Republic Day.
Happy Republic Day, guys.
Yeah.
It's a day to celebrate. We are
Yeah.
going to talk about why in a moment.
Exactly. We are going to talk about something related to it only. And Ashish is going to throw a bundle of light on it. And
Yeah, if you look at it, we are like second to third generation into the free India. And over time, we start to forget.
yeah,
Like
the importance.
what is the importance, how bad it can be.
Yeah.
We start forgetting about it.
Yeah, yeah.
How important it is to maintain and how it just might slip out of your hands. It is important for you to realize, but there's such a disconnect. Like my grandmother lived in a time of colonial India
Exactly.
and she's gone, right? And my father was born in 60s.
You know, my grandmother, she was born in somewhere around 1903.
Yeah, she lived like 100 years, right?
107 years.
Yeah, so she saw everything.
She saw everything.
I would like to get
First
her
World
on
War.
this podcast. Get her on this
World War,
podcast.
But she's no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was completely different. Like the early 1900s, the way United States would have seen, or the way USSR at that time would have seen, is completely different from the way that India saw. They had completely different agendas at that time. They did not care about the World War. They cared about their freedom, because that's like the first important thing right now. Who cares about getting the world dominance or stopping someone's invasion or something? Like, first, get me freedom. We are already occupied.
Yeah, earlier people used to be so much loyal to their country, and they were so much full of, respect and loyalty.
Patriots.
Patriotism,
Yeah.
right, for the respective country. But nowadays, we feel that we are, but we may never compare ourselves the way they were.
Yeah, Komal, I'll tell you, this feeling of nationalism or patriotism, it fades away. So in the time of desperation, let us say some war is going on, it is at its peak. Partially because of the propaganda, partially because it is time of the need. Like, we have to stick together, right? And people work harder, they struggle more. And then the time of peace comes, and then people forget about it, kind of, right? Nationalism can definitely go in the wrong direction. Look at National Socialist Party in Germany, right? So it can definitely go in the wrong direction, and it might be a propaganda of a lot of dictators as well, to combine a collection and then rule over them. But to a huge extent, it is good. Like, you and I, when we see the tricolor, we feel like, yeah, we belong to this country. And let us say we are fighting, like we are having an argument in the market, and then someone shows us the flag, and then we think, why are we fighting? Like, we belong to the same. So a little bit of unity is important, right? Because we as humans, we live in a community, and we want to belong to something, and we cannot function independently. So there has to be something that makes us feel like we are together.
So that can happen through, sports.
Yeah, sports is good.
That can happen through maybe someone who is representing us on the international platforms. Maybe someone who is representing us in the
Science.
global summits, science, whatever it is, like representing India as a person on international platform. And I remember the moment when the Neeraj Chopra, he just won gold medal, and other people also, they won different medals. So it was so proud moment. Like, I could feel the zeal, I could feel the the pride, I could feel the winning moment, as if I only won. So I think these kind of things are necessary, and these kind of things make you feel like that you belong to the same place.
There are like some feelings or emotions that you can't really fight, right? They are like embedded in you. Those are your human emotions.
Exactly.
And belonging to a community is good. It feels good, right? Obviously, it should be in a positive manner. But let's talk about why is 26th January so important. To most people would think that the 15th August is more important. The Independence Day is more important than this Republic Day, right?
Yeah.
But actually, both are equally important, if not one more than other.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So people don't know that we got
or we can say like 26 January little bit has higher take.
Yeah.
Like we got independence on 15th August, but we were not completely independent, right?
Yeah.
Unless it was 26 January 1950. Yeah.
So what actually happened is in 47 we became a dominion.
Yeah.
So we are not completely separated from the British Empire. We are still in touch with that. They are still superior because
they're still controlling us and regulating us from distance.
Yeah. So Jawaharlal Nehru became the Prime Minister of India in 1947 itself, the day of the independence. He took the office. But as long as you are a dominion, you're not an independent country. Now, Britishers had their reasons to make it a dominion because they said that until and unless you make a constitution, we cannot let you fly around because any country can be turned into a dictatorship even with a democracy.
Yeah.
So what democracy gives is the power to people to elect its prime minister in this case, or president in some other cases of democracy. Can't really use the term leader. We can't really use the term any like military leader or something like that. Those are wrong terms.
Representative,
you can use. Representative, best.
Yeah.
So for example, the first time when United States was free, right, in the 1700s, they were wondering like, what are we going to call Washington? What are we going to call him? So they're thinking like leader? No, not really. What are you going to call him? So they thought that president would be a good term because president is like, you're a president of your class, something like that. Even in your college, you have president. Like you are responsible.
Exactly.
It is not like you have some extreme superior power or you are better than others. You're responsible for others.
Yeah.
Right? So in a similar manner, where was I again? Yeah. So we got a prime minister, and then you have to have a constitution because democracy, even though the people elect their prime minister in this case, democracy can give any power to the elected person to create new laws, and these laws have to be bounded by constitution. Like you cannot go against that. You cannot hurt equality of individuals by creating some new law. And thus it needed to be settled, and they said that once you get that down, you're going to be an independent country. So India properly on paper became an independent country in 1950. Right? 26th of January. That is the importance of this day.
Ultimately, we can say we literally got independent on this day, and it's called Republic Day. Like we became, or we can say that India became Democratic Republic. So Republic means when you have constitution, when you have your own constitution, which is the supreme, which is you can call the king of kings. And everybody have to bow down in front of constitution, whether it is courts, whether it is judiciary, lower judiciaries, or whether
bureaucracy.
It is, whether it is advocates of maybe Supreme Court, and whether it is government, parliament, whatever it is. Everyone has to bow down in front of a constitution, and it's not something like people call it like a breathing document, someone who dictates you what to do and what not to do. So it's like it's called like enforcement of law upon democracy. Like democracy, it like whenever we talk about democracy, there is only one term which defines the democracy the best, which is called by the people, for the people, and of the people. And when we talk about republic, so republic is something when the head of the state is an elected representative. So what happened that the republic, so we became democratic republic. So I was just going through it, and if only a country is democracy, then what can happen? They can do anything. Even if they are getting elected, they can do anything. Suppose they are not you can say they are not secular. Like they can enforce, like when I talk about secular, it means they are putting their own religion on the country of people. So
all religions are not equal.
Like whatever they are preaching, whatever they are practicing, they can enforce that. But they can do anything. Like suppose if they talk about like men are higher and they are supposed to work outside and women need to stay inside. That can happen. Everything is in their hands. But when we talk about republic, so republic means you have the constitution, and that constitution, if you have constitution, it means you have laws.
Yeah.
So if you have laws, those laws are above everything, and they'll even control the government, parliament, everything they'll control.
They are bounded by it.
Yeah. So basically that means even if earlier democracy was uncontrolled, now it has also been controlled. Now it is also limited. They can't do anything, because democracy can if it is without republic, it can be turning into, you can say, dictatorship. You never know.
The last podcast only we discussed a very good example, what happened after Russian Revolution.
Yeah.
Right. So anything can go out of control. And what we talked in the last one is that a lot of times these revolutionaries also have their own agenda. Like they want the power for themselves. So they want to remove the colonization, or whoever is the king at that time, or whatever is the current government. That was very sorry about that. So,
Yeah.
so that is the reason why we needed that boundary. And that is, see, one thing is good, that what happened in the 40s, United States, France, United Kingdom, Canada, they were all in a journey to establish as much stable democracy as possible.
Throughout the globe.
Throughout the globe, yeah. So, and the opposite was the agenda of USSR, to establish...
Axis powers, we can say mainly.
Axis power was disintegrated. We cannot say that. Axis power basically comprised of Japan, Italy, and... Germany, right?
Yeah.
So fascist Italy, fascist Germany, and imperial Japan, and they lost the war, so they were completely demolished. And USSR was never a part of it. USSR signed a pact, Molotov-Ribbentrop, which lasted for only 2 years until Hitler invaded Russia. So it broke away. But what we were left with was communism or socialist group or against the capitalists. So USSR wanted to establish as much communism as possible. That is why we saw the Korean War. That is why we saw Vietnam War. And right now you can count handful number of countries which are actually communist, right? But what Britain's idea at that time was that if we let it fly, then it might turn into communism. It might turn into a dictatorship. So they wanted to make sure.
Yeah, because earlier what happened in India, it was very much disintegrated.
Yeah, India was ruled by kings.
Yeah, it was very much disintegrated, and it was very scattered. And I think British, we can just give this thing to them, British, that they helped us becoming, getting integrated. Yeah,
but they had their own reasons.
Yeah,
so
I'm not saying that is fair, but that acted like a catalyst. Because we were very disintegrated, but we became an entire India, and now India is against Britishers now.
Yeah, see, Komal, that brings me back to the same thing. Adversity unites the people.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So any of the bad situations that happen ultimately can be turned into something good. Right? Or it can go out of control. Like you look at French Revolution, they went out full on bloodshed and ultimately was left at the same place after somewhere around 50 years.
Yeah.
Right? But what happened with India, I think it is pretty sound, and we are like the youngest democracy right now. Kind of the last who got its freedom and then established democracy. Others are pretty older.
Yeah.
Who got after 1950s? I think
there's one country.
There might be few.
You can't just
but
say that.
One of the biggest. Okay, there might be smaller countries.
One
size
of the
wise.
Biggest, yeah.
Right. So where was I again? Yeah.
One of the biggest democracies said that.
Yeah. So we got something good out of it, right?
Yeah.
But that was a long span of time. It was like 200 years. So even we cannot really say that they brought us together. Other way around also, in 200 years, a lot can change in a place. Right?
Yeah.
We never know. Like earlier also, kings were fighting. They were trying to get, and some kings really went big.
Yeah.
Like, what was that? There was a movie also on that by Ranbir Kapoor, I think. Some Maharashtrian.
Who is Ranbir Kapoor?
No, Ranveer Singh. Ranveer Singh. We saw it together, right?
Padmavat?
No, other than that. I'm forgetting.
Bajiram?
Yes.
Is it? I don't remember. I feel like all the movies are same. Like they have made the similar kind of movies.
No, what I'm saying is that he conquered from left to right, right? So from east to west to east, he went up to West Bengal.
Khali Bali.
No, that is a different one. I'm talking about Bajirao only.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was a Maratha and then he conquered a huge part of land.
Yeah.
So that is what was going on at that time. So we don't know how it would have gone. But ultimately, it became a gigantic country, right? And that is a thing that is super unique about India, that it is super diverse. Yeah. I know Russia is diverse in a huge sense. Big countries generally go towards diversity, but India has amazing levels of diversity. Like you can move from one state to another state and languages are changed completely.
Yeah.
Cultures are changed. And I think we are fortunate to see so many different cultures. So for example, you go from Kerala to Tamil Nadu, you see different festivals, you see different kind of people, you see different language.
Within one state only, you'll see multiple religions.
You go to West Bengal, different. You go to Bihar, different. You go to Punjab, different.
Yeah, you go to Nagaland, you'll see different things.
Correct.
Yeah,
so it is an extremely diverse country.
Yeah.
And a unity in that kind of country, the freedom fighters had a tough job uniting so many people in a time where we did not have any like media. On top of that, the colonial empire had the media controlled. So whatever you had in terms of radio or newspaper, it was controlled. So they had to literally speak out, go to the stages and just shout, scream that this is going on, you need to understand. So the same thing happens for hundreds of years. People think that this is how things goes. Who knows the different ways, right? So they really did their job.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yeah.
And he is a very, to some extent, sometimes controversial figure, but definitely a very mystical figure, mysterious kind of person.
Yeah.
Right. And giving you an idea what was actually going on in India when the World War II was going on.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that his birthday was a couple of days ago. And I went through a lot of stuff related to him. And it was easy for me because I've already gone through World War II.
Yeah.
So 1939, the war started. And he was a part of the National Congress Party at that time, led by mainly Mahatma Gandhi. And the party had a very simple motto, non-violence. They are not going to put out their arms and they are not going to shed blood.
Yeah.
They are going to peacefully protest, which makes a lot of sense to a huge extent. They are going to take what is theirs. They are not going to settle down for anything less, but also they are not going to take it by violence, because I think what they believed is that if you take it with violence, it is less stable. Maybe that was the idea, that if you take it without violence, it is more certain and long lasting. But whatever might be the idea, Subhash Chandra Bose thought that violence is necessary sometimes. And he was not the only one. You can see that the other part, like Bhagat Singh and all, went in a similar route. But what he thought is that since we are at war, and even half of Britain in 1939 was thinking that we should just make peace with Hitler. It makes a lot of sense. I think that he is going to defeat us all and he's going to win. So why not just shake hands with him, right? And it was a different time. So Neville Chamberlain resigned, and then what was his name? Winston Churchill came into the office and he said that I'm not going to talk to that man. But what rest of the world thought is that Britain is going to fall. And Hitler did not really wanted to destroy Britain. He wanted to make peace because he's like the most racist person the history has ever seen. And he believed that white people are superior. than everyone else, and UK is filled with white people. So he, for that reason, wanted to shake hands with them, and maybe the next step was to invade America and get them to have peace with them. So what people were thinking is that the Axis power is actually going to win this war. And like I said before, the Axis power comprised of Germany, Italy, and Japan. Pay attention to this because it is going to be useful very soon. So Subhash Chandra Bose at that time thought, see, I want to go with violence because I want to get freedom to this country before this war ends. If I don't get it, and probably we are going to stick like this for decades and decades, or maybe a century more. So he said that I need to do it fast. I need to do it with violence. Now let us look at the logic right now. I cannot go to France, USA, or any other democratic countries to ask for help to go against Britain. Does not make sense. They are alliance, right? So who do I look for? Okay, Germany is there. And that is where the controversy comes, because we have a handshake picture of Subhash Chandra Bose with Hitler.
Yeah.
And he even fought against Indians at Burma with the help of Japan, which was imperial at that time. So you need to understand the time we were in, which was completely different. And you need to understand that the decisions or the actions that he took, which was completely against the Nazi mentality, which I'm going to explain one by one. So in 1939, he decided that I'm going to do this, because of which, since he said in a speech that he needs, or we need as Indians to take violence, he was thrown out of the party.
Yeah.
And so a couple of times, I think one time he went to jail, and then his health was degrading too much. Then he was set free so that he does not die, because a freedom fighter dies, he's even more powerful than he was when he was alive. So, and then he was in West Bengal, and then he escaped. So from West Bengal, he went to Afghanistan, and his plan actually was to go to Russia. Now, this is why you need to have a little bit idea of World War II. So Hitler actually shook hands with Russia initially, and the pact was Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which was made in August 1939. So the way that it was going is we have the Axis power, the three countries, two fascist, one is imperial, and then it has shook hand with the communist country. So we have basically the biggest power that we have seen so far. So right now Germany and Russia are together. So he wants to go to Russia, generate an army over there, and then invade basically India, which would now have the army governed by British.
Yeah.
Now we have to put a charger over there. I'm extremely sorry. It's low battery. All right. So where was I? So his plan was to get to Russia, get the support over there, and then get back to invade India and just wipe away Britain, because Britain was already having some problems or losing a lot of wars in North Africa at that time. So that is the way the world looked at that time, that they are going to kind of lose the war. London was bombarded, France was defeated. So that is how it looked at that time. So that was his idea. So he escaped to Afghanistan. Now Stalin at that time was thinking that Subhash Chandra Bose just might be a British spy trying to get in and get information. So he was not able to trust. So he was having a lot of problems at Afghanistan to get over there. But over time, he just walked into the German embassy and talked to the delegates over there, and they said that, okay, we can sort something out. And since Italy and Germany are having alliance, which was kind of till the end of the war, so they figured it out, and the Italians actually gave him a pass to get into Germany through Russia. So he got a transit visa through Russia and then finally got into Germany. Now, here's the thing. India is kind of a big base for the British Empire. A huge amount of British army is actually made of Indians. Like you can see in a lot of cases, 1/3 of the army of Britishers are made from Indian armies that completely selected from India, right? So number one, if we can start a revolution over there or defeat that base, it would be not only strategically helpful, but also will be helpful number-wise For number one, it is a strategic spot. It's a peninsula. It's a very important spot. And already their forces the Japan has conquered the Singapore and all. So it is a good spot to be. So Germany decided to support Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yeah.
And they even gave him like an office, and he stayed over there. He actually married an Austrian woman.
Yeah.
Her name was Emilia Schenko.
Yeah.
And their daughter is still alive.
Oh.
Anita, the last name. I won't be able to pronounce. Try that. Pfaff. So, puff. Don't even try. Yeah. So she's still alive.
Yeah.
And he stayed over there and even did some broadcasts, which was broadcasted in India through radio.
Okay.
That, Subhash Chandra Bose is alive, because a lot of people were thinking that he actually went out to become a monk.
Yeah.
Or he just died or something, because he disappeared. Right?
Okay.
So he finally stayed over there. And like I said, Britishers were losing a lot of wars in North Africa. And huge amount of their army was made of Indians. So the ones who lost became prisoners of war, POWs. And they were brought back to Germany. So Subhash Chandra Bose's idea was that I'm going to take these POWs and form the Indian army. They are Indian anyways. And he called it INA, Indian Nationalist Army. And we are going to launch the force through Russia, because we are going to come from top. But that's when Hitler made his own ideas of invading Russia. And now they went on to war in 1942. That's where they broke it. June. It was summer. That's what I remember. So that now that passage is gone, there's no way he's going to be able to invade India, right? But here's the thing about him that you need to admire, that he had nothing to do with the World War. He was not over there for the war. He was there for India. And he thought that there's no reason I'm going to stay over here anymore. I need to get to India. And if not through Russia, I'm going to get there through Japan. Because Japan and Germany still had their alliance, right?
Yeah.
So the Germans decided to send them through a U-boat, which is basically a submarine, right?
Yeah.
So there were two submarines, halfway German submarine, and then they transferred it, and then Japanese submarine, and they got them to Singapore. So in 1942, another thing happened. Like I said, Britishers were losing like anything. Until United States joined, they were losing almost every war, apart from the Battle for London, right? So Singapore was gone. And over there were close to 150,000 men, British Army men. And out of that, close to 50 to 60,000 were composed of Indians. Understand the numbers. Like I said, a huge portion of British Army was made of Indians. So he got the numbers because the army that was in India at that time was close to 70,000. And that too, when they see somewhere around 50,000 Indians marching inside, a lot of them are going to change sides.
Yeah.
This happens all the time, right? Okay, so he got the numbers. Now it is left for him to go out there and invade India. And this is where he really played his military role. Understand, he does not have any military training. He did not go to any precise training as a general, right?
Yeah.
But it is his like sheer will. And that is what even the Japanese people admired about him. See, Japanese people are all about respect. They don't care about anything. And when a Japanese crowd or set of generals from Japan admire you or respect you, you are really doing something great. And they did. They actually called Subhash Chandra Bose as a true symbol or icon of a samurai.
Yeah.
Which is like the purest form of a warrior. So this is how it is going. So he went up from Singapore to Burma, which was at that time right at the border. Now it is all Bangladesh, and India has like a corner going out over there if you look at the map. But at that time it was pretty clear cut. You're at the gates of India, right? So he went over there, but that's when Japan started losing the war.
Yeah.
And America got into the war because they had bombarded Pearl Harbor. And America basically first started from the bottommost part, which is almost touching Australia, and Japanese people started to lose territory after territory.
Yeah.
And basically, Japanese army retreated, and Subhash Chandra Bose was left alone over there with his bunch of Indian men. And when they tried to invade, they basically lost. And when that happens, and at this point, we have the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, August 1945. Basically, the country gone. The last Axis power is out of the picture now.
Yeah.
So they are alone, completely alone. And plus, they are losing the war over there, right? And at that point, what you need to understand is that you have to face a trial. Once you end a war, there has to be a trial for the war crimes. For example, in Europe, they had the Nuremberg trials, and in Japan, they had the Tokyo trials.
Yeah.
And they were these army Indians who were going to fight for their freedom were basically called or named as mutiny people. They created a mutiny. That is, now if you look at it, a great term would be terrorism, right? Against the government if you're taking up the arms.
Okay.
And at that time, the government was the British government.
Yeah.
So, what Subhash Chandra Bose did is completely dissolve the army INA at that point, scatter it around.
Yeah.
There were 3 people who were sent to trial in Red Fort for this whole INA movement.
Yeah.
And the first one is named Shah Nawaz Sehgal. Sorry. I don't know the third name. All right. So I'm not going to try to pronounce. The first name is Shah Nawaz. The second name is PK Sehgal. And the third one is Guru Bakh Singh.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, one is Muslim, the second one is Hindu, and the third one is Sikh.
Yeah.
And that is what you have to admire about this person, the diversity that he appreciated. Number one, he believed that we have to unite with diversity. And he said that there's going to be no differences. Not the North, not the South, not the religions. We are going to fight united. Yeah. And second of all, it is kind of the first and one of the very few armies that had a female regiment.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And those people who think that he went and shook hands with Hitler and he was kind of moving in the direction of dictatorship or in fascism, think about this. In German army, females cannot fight.
Yeah.
This was a big agenda of the Nazi party.
Yeah.
It was clear that the women are supposed to create more and more Aryan child.
Yeah.
And that was the problem that he faced in Germany as well. So it was kind of like an intercaste marriage. So they married, the name that I said, Emilia Schenko. So they married, but it was not on record because intercaste marriage or inter-race marriage was not allowed in the Nazi Germany in the Third Reich.
Yeah.
So he went out against the grain again and again.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't really look at the diversity that he appreciated and how less he paid attention towards any racism that Germany was doing. He thought that it was a necessary evil. So you have to look at it in a very different perspective. You can't really look at him shaking hands with Hitler and think that what is going on. So, like I said, it's a mysterious man. And that meeting when he met Hitler actually did not go that well.
Yeah.
So, if you look at the complete thing, Germany did not really support Subhash Chandra Bose that well.
Okay.
They did not do anything. So, they gave him like somewhere close to 10,000 army. And when Germany invaded Russia, obviously not caring about Subhash Chandra Bose's plan, those 10,000 men were left over there only. And what happened to them, nobody knows, right? So it was basically Japan who gave him the army. But what people need to understand is that it was Germany where the Netaji term came. Because Netaji in India or Hindi language means leader. Which is very equivalent to the Führer, which also stands for leader in the German language, right? So that is where it started, and they gave him a proper office. They gave him the liberty of commanding his own army. That's where it all started, right? But there are a lot of different pieces that you need to adjust. See, there's a movie made on Subhash Chandra Bose. It's available on YouTube. You can see like 19 million views or something like that. So I don't think that even that movie does the fair job of telling the history like it is supposed to be told, right? So movies are movies. They have to make it dramatic, right?
Exactly.
And when you look at different sources, like what are the Britishers saying about what he did, what are the Indians saying what he did, then you kind of get an idea of maybe this might have happened. So when the INA was disintegrated, he was at Burma, and now he needs to escape. So he at that time still thought that I'm going to go for asylum at Russia. And at that time, right after the atom bomb drop, if you do not know, Soviet Union, USSR, invaded Manchuria part, which is currently in China. At that time was a part of Imperial Japan. So they invaded China. They invaded Manchuria, and Subhash Chandra Bose's plan was to land on Manchuria. But that plane never landed over there. So it is said that it has crashed, but some people say that there's no proof of that. Some people even say that he may be in some Siberian gulag or something like that, which is basically concentration camp at that time. So nobody knows. That it is like one of the biggest conspiracy theory that was he alive? Some people say that he was alive till 1985. He's seen here and there. But when you look at the kind of person that he was, it's completely believable, because they thought that he has died in 1939 when he escaped from West Bengal. Right? Or at that time Bengal or Calcutta, right? But that is the kind of person that he was. He was very
charging,
kind of like clever person. He blended in, like he changed identity from identity. So he went over there in Kabul, I think, in Afghanistan, and he had an identity of a Muslim. And then he had an identity of a French person, or I think Italian person, as he was going to Germany. And then he stayed over there, and he's like evasive. Right? So I think that this is as much as I could find about the reality of what his life was. But damn, it was awesome. I would say he went from one place to another.
One thing heap of knowledge.
One thing that you have to understand, that he was from a very, very rich family. His parents were well off. Currently, what we know as civil services examination. At that time, it was Indian
ICS.
Indian Civil Services. Right, and he cleared that with all India rank of 4.
Same with the Ashish Ranjan. It's rank 4.
So he cleared that, and he could have had a very good life, well-off life in India. But he chose not to have that. So at some point, you have to look at him and appreciate that.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
Whatever it is a very controversial thing. But I was also thinking, like, what is happening? He's shaking hands with Nazis. So what really strikes you when you look at Subhash Chandra Bose shaking hands with Japan or fascist Germany at that time is that there's no doubt that Germany, Italy, or Japan at that time were worse than what colonial India was. Definitely. They were worse. They were straight up gassing up the Jews, concentration camps, and they're on a mission to wipe out an entire race. Now, I think that these banners are very famous. It was written in India, Indians and dogs are not allowed. You must be knowing about that as well, in some clubs and all. So that is racism as well. But we are not having people getting gassed up. Now, we had Jallianwala Bagh, where I do not remember, but a lot of people just shot to that. Right. But it's not as bad. Japan did plenty of atrocities in their part as well.
That was brutal.
Italy did as well. And like they had a field day when it came to Nuremberg trial or the Tokyo trial, like the horrific things that they did, like piled up bodies over bodies. Like I have pretty strong gut. I can see murder. I can see anything. I can see people chopping each other out. But when I saw what they did in the concentration camps, even I like, I can take it, man. I think that I'm going to puke. So that's how evil people can get. But if you compare it to that, a lot of people will say that colonial India under the British Empire was much better.
Yeah.
But that is why it is a controversy. But he thought that it is much better. How about we go for free India and make it even better?
Yeah.
Why do I have to say that I can only select from 1 to 6? How about I select 10?
Yeah.
That was his idea. So he wanted to do it his way.
Yeah.
And what actually, when India got independence, Subhash Chandra Bose was not in India, unfortunately.
Yeah.
According to records, dead. But his movement of INA and these 3 people who were brought to Red Fort, this actually brought a fire in the revolutionaries. That look at what they did. And a lot of people say that this was one of the biggest mistake that the Britishers made, that making a public trial out of them. Because now you brought their big movement and what Subhash Chandra Bose did into the limelight.
Okay.
And that sparked a fire.
Exactly.
Right? Like, for example, Jallianwala Bagh, what it did is strike fire. You can't make these mistakes when you are kind of having a authoritative rule and not giving rights to people.
Yeah, I really like the part when you said that the Subhash Chandra Bose, he was in favor of, diversity and inequality, and even like you were telling me that he was asking women to come fight for the country.
Correct, yeah.
Right, because if you want independence, so we want you to fight for independence.
So he said that if women want their rights in a free India, they should be fighting for a free India.
Exactly. Yeah, that I wanted to bring into limelight because you forgot that
Thank you
point.
for reminding me. So you have to look at all the pieces, right? It's a very mixed character. It is very difficult. And I don't think that we should judge right away without actually looking at it properly.
Yeah, now it's up to you guys. How do you want to see? Yeah, Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yeah, because it's on record what he did.
Yeah,
and
there are always two perceptions about him. Like some people are against him, some people are, in very much pro Subhash Chandra Bose.
Yeah.
So it depends on you. What are you taking back from this podcast?
Yeah. We wanted to talk about a lot of other things, but I guess that it's more than sufficient for today. Extremely sorry that we could not discuss some space topics today, but you can understand the day that it is. We have to talk about something related to the topic.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe we made some of you guys feel more proud about being an Indian.
Yeah, and one more thing, like one more vlog is coming this Saturday.
Yeah, be ready for what is coming this Saturday. Yeah, because you're going to love it. I'm pretty sure about it.
I don't know.
It's different. It's not a vlog. It's different. So stay ready for the Saturday thing.
Yeah.
That's about it. It's going to overheat and shut down anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, so, guys.
See you guys in the next podcast. Till then, bye. Take care and keep smiling.
Bye.
Bye.